Somewhere right now in Washington, D.C., Al Franken is trembling in terror. I spent much of last week in Washington, D.C., and it is great to be back in America. So we had kind of a quiet night in Vegas this week. How fantastic is it that we have such an array of young, talented, dynamic candidates running for president as Republicans. And what a contrast with the Democrats. You know, I'm pretty sure the first Democratic debate consisted of Hillary Clinton and the Chipotle clerk. Well, no, actually, that's not fair. That's not fair. We can't forget about Bernie Sanders. So now, the Democratic field consists of a wild-eyed socialist with ideas that are dangerous for America and the world, and Bernie Sanders. And you notice, it seems like the last debate, I think they had it at 2 in the morning on Saturday in Alaska on PBS. You know, it's almost like they don't have anyone watch their candidates for president, which you can kind of understand why. But there is good news. They announced the next Democratic debate. It's going to be held at Leavenworth. They wanted to make it easy for Hillary to attend. You know, we are here tonight because this country's in crisis. We're here tonight because we're bankrupting our kids and grandkids. Because our constitutional rights are under assault each and every day. And because America has receded from leadership in the world and it has made the world a much more dangerous place. Well, we need every one of us. And I am here to tell you, I'm here with a word of hope and encouragement and exhortation. I want to tell you, all across Minnesota, all across this country, people are waking up. There is a revival. And I'll tell you today, help is on the way. So I want to ask everyone here to look forward. Look forward to January 2017. If I am elected president, let me tell you what I intend to do the first day in office. The first thing I intend to do is rescind every single illegal and unconstitutional executive action taken by this president. You know, President Obama likes to say he's got a phone and he's got a pen. Well, you live by the pen, you die by the pen. And my pen has got an eraser. But sadly, the corruption has not been limited just to the White House. It has extended across every agency of the federal government. The second thing I intend to do on the first day in office is instruct the United States Department of Justice to open an investigation into Planned Parenthood and these horrible videos. The administration of justice should be blind to party or ideology. The only fidelity at the Department of Justice should be to the laws and the Constitution of the United States. Third thing I intend to do on the first day in office is instruct the Department of Justice and the IRS and every other federal agency that the persecution of religious liberty ends today. That means that every serviceman and woman has the right to seek out and worship God Almighty with all of our hearts, minds, and souls, and their superior officer has nothing to say about it. That means that the Little Sisters of the Poor, a Catholic charity right now being persecuted by the Obama administration, will find that the case against them has been dismissed. The fourth thing I intend to do on the first day in office is rip to shreds this catastrophic Iranian nuclear deal. The single greatest national security threat facing America is the threat of a nuclear Iran, and we need a commander-in-chief who will stand up and say unequivocally, under no circumstances will Iran, led by a theocratic Ayatollah who chants death to America, under no circumstances will Iran be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons. And the fifth thing I intend to do on the first day in office is begin the process of moving the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, the once and eternal capital of Israel. Now, you know, a lot of presidential candidates, both Democrats and Republicans, have made that very same promise. And yet inevitably, when they get to the White House, they don't do it. Because their teams come to them and they say, you know, if we do that, it's going to make other folks in the Middle East really, really unhappy with us. Well, if you hadn't noticed, they're already pretty unhappy with us. And the single biggest difference between me and the other very, very fine men and women standing on that debate stage is that with me, when I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do exactly what I said. So that's day one. There are 365 days in a year. 4 years in a presidential term, 4 years in a second term. By the end of 8 years, there are going to be a whole lot of newspaper reporters and editors and journalists who have checked themselves into therapy. In the days that follow, I will go to Congress and we will repeal every word of Obamacare. We'll pass common sense health care reform that makes health insurance personal and portable and affordable and keeps government from getting in between us and our doctors. In the days that follow, I will instruct the U.S. Department of Education, which should be abolished. I will instruct the Department of Education that Common Core ends today. In the days that follow, we will finally secure the borders and end sanctuary cities. There are 360 jurisdictions in this country that declare themselves sanctuary cities. They're going to find every dollar of federal money cut off if they stand in the way of federal immigration. We will deport criminal illegal aliens. We will pass case law, and we will end welfare benefits for those here illegally. In the days that follow, we will rebuild the military, and we will honor the commitments made to our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines. And that includes protecting the constitutional right to keep and bear arms of every serviceman. Which means the next time a jihadist walks into a recruiting center in Chattanooga, he's going to encounter the business end of firearms wielded by a dozen Marines. In the days that follow, we will have a commander-in-chief who stands up and makes clear on the world stage, we will defeat radical Islamic terrorism. We'll have a president willing to utter the words, radical Islamic terrorism. And mark my words, we are not going to weaken, we are not going to degrade ISIS. We are going to utterly destroy ISIS. We are going to make it abundantly clear to any militant on the face of the planet, if you go and join ISIS, if you take up arms and wage jihad against innocent Americans, you are signing your death warrant. In the days that follow, we will take on the EPA. And the CFPB. And the alphabet soup of federal agencies that descend like locusts destroying small businesses and jobs all across this country. You know, a few years back, I was out in West Texas. And I asked folks there, I said, what's the difference between regulators and locusts? I said, well, the thing is, you can't use pesticide on the regulators. This old West Texas farmer, he leaned back, said, wanna bet? And in the days that follow, I will go to Congress. We will pass fundamental tax reform. We will pass a simple flat tax. So that every American can fill out your taxes on a postcard. And when we do that, we should abolish the IRS. There are about 90,000 employees at the IRS. We need to padlock that building. Take all 90,000 and put them down on our southern border. Now, to our friends in the media, I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek. But you know, if you think about it, sir, imagine you traveled thousands of miles in the blazing sun. You're swimming across the Rio Grande, and the first thing you see is 90,000 IRS agents. You turn around and go home too. Now some of y'all may be thinking, all of this makes sense to me. It's basic common sense. Live within your means. Don't bankrupt our kids and grandkids. Follow the Constitution. You know, Scripture tells us there's nothing new under the sun. I think where we are right now is very, very much like the late 1970s. I think the parallels between this administration and the Jimmy Carter administration are uncanny. Same failed economic policies. Same misery, stagnation, and malaise. The same feckless and naive foreign policy. In fact, the exact same countries, Russia and Iran, openly laughing at and mocking the President of the United States. Now, why is it that that analogy gives me so much hope and optimism? Because we remember what happened. All across this country, millions of men and women rose up and became the Reagan Revolution. And it didn't come from Washington. Washington despised Ronald Reagan. By the way, if you see a candidate who Washington embraces, run and hide. It came from the American people, and it turned this country around. We went from stagnation and misery and malaise to booming economic growth, to millions lifted out of poverty into prosperity in the American dream. We went from our hostages languishing in Iran to winning the Cold War and tearing the Berlin Wall to the ground. Why am I so optimistic? Because the same thing is happening again. All across Minnesota, all across this country, people are waking up. You know, when we launched this campaign on March 23rd, the New York Times promptly opined, Cruz cannot win because the Washington elites despise him. I kind of thought that was the whole point of the campaign. Listen, if you think things in Washington are going great, that we need to keep headed in the same basic direction, just kind of fiddle around the edges, then I ain't your guy. On the other hand, if you think Washington is fundamentally broken, that there is a bipartisan corruption of career politicians in both parties that get in bed with lobbyists and special interests and grow and grow and grow government, and we need to take power out of Washington and back to we the people. That is what this campaign is all about. And I want to close with this. For all of us here, freedom is not some abstract concept that we read about in the school. Freedom is real. It's personal. It's our families. It's our lives. You know, for me, I think about my dad. My dad was born and raised in Cuba. And as a kid, as a teenager, he fought the Cuban Revolution. He was thrown in prison and tortured by Batista's army. When my dad was 17, he was lying in a Cuban jail cell. His nose was broken, his teeth were shattered. He was covered in mud and blood and grime. And he remembers thinking, I don't have any kids. Nobody depends on me. It doesn't matter if I live or I die. But thankfully, God had different plans for my father. He was released from that jail cell, and in 1957, my father fled Cuba and came to America. He was 18 years old, and he couldn't speak a word of English. He had nothing. He had $100 that was sewn into his underwear. He got a job washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. And he worked 7 days a week. He paid his way through school. He and my mom went on to start a small business together. I grew up in Texas as the son of 2 small business owners, seeing the struggles, the highs and lows of trying to make it as small business owners in America. Today, my father is a pastor and he travels the country preaching the gospel. And my whole life, my father has been my hero. But you know what I find most incredible about his story? How commonplace it is. Every single one of us in this room, we have a story just like that in our background. Some of us, it's us. Others, it's our parents. Others, it's our great-great-great-grandparents. But what ties Americans together, each and every one of us, is we are the children of those who risked everything for freedom. And that is why I'm so optimistic, because it is the fundamental DNA of every American to value liberty and opportunity above all else. When I was a kid, my dad used to say to me over and over again, when we faced oppression in Cuba, I had a place to flee to. If we lose our freedom here, where do we go? That is why all of us are here tonight. Because we are not willing to go quietly into the night. We are not willing to give up on our children and grandchildren. And I tell you this, if we come together as one, if we defend freedom and defend the Constitution, if we come as we the people and rise up, we will restore that last best hope for mankind, that shining